spoke to Dave once before, and I'm trying to remember my prior advice to him because I feel like that was really good. I feel like the advice that I'd had for him before was about making sure to get him to know himself and to really try to stay true to the things that he values. Because I found as I've gotten older in life, that is something that I didn't learn so well as I was, getting older, and like especially your teenage years, you do a lot of trying to find yourself. But
Sure.
through my adulthood and this next phase of life that I'm in, I've been learning a lot more of like trying to get back to what things do I enjoy, what sort of people am I attracted to being around, what sort of a life do I want to live, what is important to me. And I feel like I kind of lost sight of that for a while. So I definitely say, like, once you figure out kind of who you are and what you like to do, definitely try to like focus in on that and make sure that you make that important, because it is important to your overall happiness. I feel a lot happier now kind of going towards what I like and what I want than what I think others think I should do, those sorts of things.
Yeah. Now, you said that people should embrace their own values, and how do they get these values?
So I think it takes a lot of kind of sitting with yourself. It takes a lot of exploring certain things. It's very good to be curious. It's very good to be open-minded. It's very good to go out into the world and meet different kinds of people. Learn what types of people make you happy. Learn what types of situations and things bring you joy, and try to seek those things out in the most cautious way possible. Because sometimes there's like dangerous things like skydiving.
Sure.
You might have a little bit too much.
Wind resistance there.
But it's really about like noticing the way that certain things and certain situations kind of sit with you, and like like, oh, this feels really good, I'm going to kind of pursue this a bit more. And also trying to think about I think it's important too to kind of understand what is going to be good for yourself as well. Like not only because what might feel good, like going out, going to parties, spending lots of money on things that might feel good, but thinking like, all right, what's something that's going to sustain my long-term happiness? That's another thing that's really good to think about too. So finding like hobbies, finding groups of people where you feel comfortable in, creating sort of a community, that's going to be very essential to kind of feeling comfortable in your own skin and feeling like you belong in an area.
But why not just do the big and now?
That's a choice. That's definitely a choice that you can make, but it's something that I feel like when you're having dessert, it's something that you should have like a little bit of here and there. It's definitely something you don't want to deny yourself, but I think like for the long term, like think of like these sorts of activities almost like your diet. You want to make sure that you get the really like good salad, the whole grains, like the warm hearty stuff, but definitely don't skip out on dessert every once in a while, but just make sure that you're not only eating dessert, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now I want some cake.
Yeah.
Now, what happens if two people have two values that disagree with each other?
Yeah, I think I see what you're trying to say. So what happens when you have two people that you care about, but they're both giving you different advice? What advice do you follow? Is that where
that is a good question there,
Yeah, so I think that that's something that you could go about one of two ways. If you're feeling like okay taking the risk and following a certain person's advice, definitely do that. But if there's somebody that when they're saying a certain thing it feels really true inside and you're like, oh, that feels like the right thing, definitely like dip your toe out and see what happens, because life is all about making mistakes, figuring things out, and it's one of those things where it's like, as long as it's not something that will like be devastatingly effective to you, it should be something that you should be willing to do. Like there's so much out there that you can explore and see, and it would be a shame to kind of keep yourself from things just because of nervousness, apprehension, fear of doing the thing because of external forces. It should be something that's led from the heart.
Where do you think that feeling in the heart comes from? Like how do we know that that feeling is the feeling that we should follow and not a gas feeling in the gut?
That's a good question. I can't think of all of the things, but like there's a term in Japanese called ikigai, which is like your purpose for like your purpose in life.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that makes you happy, something that sustains you financially, something that's interesting to you, and something that is useful to society. So if you can find the intersection of all four of those things, you found your ikigai, your purpose. And it like having that sort of a like, it's almost like a feeling of love. Like you feel like this tightness in your chest and you're like, this is it. Like you'll get the feeling like this is what I should be doing. This feels good. And you'll know. It'll feel different from butterflies and tummy gas and all that other stuff.
Do you think the question that I keep getting hung up on, like with everybody that I'm talking to, with tell me the word again, Ikigai.
Yeah.
With religious people saying like the Holy Spirit, or like a Hindu, saying like your internal thing, or a Mormon would say the burning in the bosom. Like, what if? I mean, all these are kind of given this. You get a feeling to know what's right, but a lot of them are saying that feeling leads to different things. And I'm really stuck. David really keeps asking me, how do you know the difference?
How do you know the difference? Like, how do you know when that feeling is telling you that you're doing something right?
Yeah, because can somebody have that feeling and it go wrong? Like, can it be false?
Certainly. I definitely think that there can be times where in that moment it's something that feels right for you, but maybe in the long run things don't work out the way that you were hoping, or other external forces kind of like act on that, and that's okay. In that case, we kind of like take note of like, okay, this felt good, but this happened and it kind of negatively affected me. What were the variables that like caused that to happen? Are those things that I can control? Or is it something that's out of my control? Is there something similar that I can do instead? Because all of that will kind of like help you, like those feelings are kind of like breadcrumbs leading you to that ultimate goal of like, okay, I've kind of found it. And you may not find it very quickly. It's going to be a very long search, and that's okay, because it's, about the fun of searching and the hide and seek, the treasure hunt, so to speak.
Yeah. I like treasure hunts.
Yeah.
So are you saying that the gut feeling, or that the heart feeling, is not the answer itself, but a motivating force to seek out the actual logistical things, and that you could have the heart feeling, and it could be, so it's really just almost like motivation?
It's like a tool. It's like a tool. It's like, if you have a meter and you start to like wave it around and it starts to beep and go off, and you're like, okay, I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, it's almost like a weather vane. It's helping you find north, helping you find the way to go. Weather vane's for wind. Compass is the better analogy. I know somebody will be like, what's a compass? But it's all about like.
But how do we know this? I mean, is the heart feeling pointing towards something objectively north?
I think it can be. I think it can be, and I think that's part of like sitting with yourself and asking yourself these questions, trying to get to know yourself, and trying to like be like, okay, this feels good. Why does this feel good? Like really pick the thoughts apart and really try to figure out like, okay, what about this has been good for me? What could I change? What could be better? And always trying to kind of like strive to kind of perfect that in a way, I think is really good too. Because I think that like with anything, like emotions, all of that stuff, it's a tool that you can use to kind of understand yourself. So the warmer you get towards like understanding yourself, the easier it'll get to be like, oh, okay, I know this feeling, I can trust this. Because sometimes it feels like fear.
So would you say that it maybe that the north that it points to is the north of what you're actually thinking or feeling?
Yeah.
Not necessarily like a third party, I know that I'm supposed to buy this scratch-off ticket because it's going to win. It's more like, I know that I want money, and so I should buy the scratch-off ticket, or I should
Yeah,
get a
and
job.
you can sit there too, and you
Different
can
job.
like really analyze it. Like, okay, I want this because like I want to be doing better than what I am now. Okay, I have multiple options. What
Yeah.
can I do? Yes, you can certainly like buy the scratch-off ticket. There's all sorts of other options that you can do as well. It's like, okay, what can help me? Like, do I want to start a side hustle? Do I want to turn one of my hobbies into a business? Do I want to? Is it something like within my job? Do I feel like complacent or like something could be better there? How could I, it's all about like figuring out like, okay, I have this feeling, what can I do about it? And sometimes feelings are just feelings and you kind of just have to feel them. Like you understand that like you might not be in a spot where you can get to that true north, and that's okay. It's just about acknowledging and understanding that you're having this feeling.
Yeah. Fun. It sounds, there's a book, I forgot the guy's name at this point. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow.
Oh, okay.
It talks about how you have kind of two brain reactions, and like the first brain reaction is your fast brain.
Yeah.
And then I think that's kind of what you're describing is like that internal, like that quick process, that almost like primal reaction to say like a push moves, be quick.
Yes.
And then we do that on everyday things. Like, oh, this person walks up, they're walking this way. I've seen people walk this way before. And so I start to feel easier about how they're walking. Like they seem friendlier. And so like all these little quick brain things, and then our slow brain kicks in, and we start making decisions.
Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
That's really what I've kind of come down to at this stage. From what I understand, I'm still. There's a lot of people who talk about like almost like a third party, like an external north that people can feel in their hearts, but people are pointing to different norths, and I can't figure out how to figure that out yet.
And I think that that's something that a lot of us are still trying to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's okay that you don't know what your north is yet, because that's.
Well, I mean, I understand my north. I don't mean to.
No. I mean,
it,
just
like,
I'm talking for Dave.
Like,
no, like for sure. Like it's going to take time for you to figure out your north. It's not an overnight process. Like even though your quick brain is like, oh yeah, this thing feels good. Like chasing the dopamine. It's not always
dopamine.
Right. But like I think it's an important balance between like, okay, like you get that feeling from your quick brain, and then you stop and sit with your slow brain and you kind of piece it apart and go, okay, I really like this, how can I get this, and really start to kind of like talk yourself through it. Like that logical analysis is really important too, I think, for the journey towards finding your north.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Any other questions for David or myself?
Nothing off the top of my head.
No, I appreciate
it. But it was good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good talk.
Bye guys.